Good Shabbos, everyone. Earlier last week, the Israeli consulate invited me to come see a film titled Bearing Witness, the uncensored collection of video clips of the October 7th massacre. Before deciding whether I should go, I debated. Did I really want to see more videos, some of the most difficult videos to watch, of innocent people being murdered? Was it ethical to watch people slaughtered in broad daylight? I debated with myself and spoke to other people, but there's something in the end that convinced me that I must go. Because of deepfake technologies and other distortions that are made possible by social media, believe it or not, there are already large parts of the world, even here in America, that don't believe October 7th even happened. Just this past week, for example, Hamas and their friends came out with their own analysis of October 7th. And in their analysis, they claimed they didn't even attack civilians. It was just part of a greater war against Israeli soldiers. And unfortunately, already, less than 4 months later, there are people throughout the world that don't believe that Hamas slaughtered innocent men, women, and children. It's hard to fathom. But the frightening growth of Holocaust denial is a lesson in what is happening already to October 7th. Because of rampant online anti-Semitism has led too many people to dispute even the Holocaust, even here in the United States. According to one shocking survey that just came out, 1 in 5 American adults under the age of 30 say they agree that the Holocaust is a complete myth. And another fifth of young American adults say they believe the Holocaust may have happened, but not that many people were actually killed, that it was exaggerated. It's sobering news, especially today, as we commemorate International Holocaust Remembrance Day. As a rabbi, I have the honor of teaching hundreds of people every week. So I finally decided that as a rabbi, I must go to that screening so I can share with others about actually what happened on October 7th, the brutality and violence of that day. Because I hope I can play my small part in making sure the world always knows what really happened. I was able to bear witness, so I feel compelled to tell you some of what I saw. And yes, what I'm going to share this morning is not easy to do so. Yet I think it's important for you to hear, for all of us, no matter our age, especially for our young people. You see what's put out there on social media, the denials that are already being put out. I think it's important you hear from a rabbi what actually happened, so you too can play your part as well to bear witness to a world that will have its doubts about what happened. So last Tuesday night, I went to the Holocaust Museum, joined by hundreds of people, other rabbis, leaders of the Jewish community, and also by non-Jewish leaders here in Houston, several members of our Houston City Council, state senators, the president of Rice University. And together, we viewed footage taken from Hamas body cameras, security cameras, and victims' phones. They were the most violent videos I've ever seen. It was even worse than I thought it was going to be. And some of what I saw I can't share with you in synagogue. But here's what I can tell you. Civilians were the principal target. We see Hamas killers going house to house in search of the unarmed. Many of the victims were still in their pajamas when they were hunted down. And killings are carried out in close quarters. Victims executed one by one in their kitchens, bathrooms, bomb shelters. It gets worse. Corpses of victims were mutilated. There were missing limbs, punctures to the chest, broken bones, some burned beyond recognition. Mutilation appears to be coordinated. We see videos and recordings. We hear recordings of Hamas leaders back in Gaza telling their terrorists to cut off the heads of corpses and bring the corpses and the heads back to Gaza. One radio intercept to Gaza reveals an instruction to actually bring back the dead body of an IDF soldier so they can crucify him publicly. Victims are terrified. This is evidenced by many who kept their social media feeds live until the moment of death. And the fear in their eyes is something I will never forget as their killers approach. It was chilling. We were watching a modern-day pogrom in the one place we believed that a pogrom could never happen. The most difficult scenes for me, in one video, a first responder arrives at the scene of that supernova music festival. We hear him counting corpses by the makeshift bar. His voice is horrified when he reaches 4, then 5, and then he turns to look behind the bar. His camera scans the scene, a body's sprawled lifeless on the floor. He has to stop counting. He breaks down. There are too many to count. In another scene, 2 beautiful young boys are being protected by their father. As they run for safety to their shelter, the terrorists throw a grenade. The father sacrifices his life by taking the full force of the grenade to save his children. And the 2 beautiful boys emerge unscathed and return to the kitchen. There they discuss their father's death. They can't believe what's just happened. And a terrorist walks in. He walks next to them to the refrigerator, and he pulls out a bottle of Coke and casually drinks it in front of 2 crying boys. And after he leaves, one of the young boys is heard screaming on the security camera, "I wish I was not alive." Taking hostages, murdering Jews is shown as socially acceptable for those back in Gaza. You may have heard of this video. One terrorist calls his parents from a dead victim's phone. He says with great pride to his parents, "Mom, I killed 10 Jews." Instead of condemning him, the parents praise their son and tell him to go kill more. And additional videos are from Hamas social media, showing the streets of Gaza on October 7th. In one video, terrorists parade around a young Israeli woman, pulling her by her hair to the yelling approval of Gazan civilians. And when other terrorists throughout the day return with hostages or with dead bodies, civilians, thousands and thousands of them, rush to praise their actions. And scenes like these are repeated too many times to count. That night, as the last frame ended, there was silence. Many bolted for the closest exit. Some stayed to discuss. I've been to Auschwitz and Theresienstadt, Treblinka and Birkenau. I've seen the aftermath of genocide. I saw those places and learned about the complex and well-planned operations designed to murder innocent women and children, destroy entire families and villages. Yet I've never seen videos of such carnage carried out with such fervor. I could not believe the sheer delight that the terrorists displayed. It was as if it was the happiest day of their lives. So thankful for the chance to kill innocent people, wrongly relating their conquest to Islam, often yelling, "Allah Akbar," Allah is the greatest, while standing over victims. My friends, I'm sorry to share these images with you today, but no matter our age, I do think it's important for all of us not to forget what really happened. So for the rest of our lives, you and I, can always bear witness to those who will deny it, who already are denying it, to honor the memories of those who were killed, and to do our small part to make sure it never happens again. Yes, as hard as it is, I believe it is fully important to comprehend what happened, to understand what Israel is up against. But with all I've said this morning and over the last several months, I do have one concern. I don't want knowing what fully happened on October 7th to permanently change who we are, our sense of compassion, our sense of concern, even for the innocents on the other side. I see it happening to myself over the last several months, full of hate and anger. That's what the terrorists want. For people like us to hate so much that it fundamentally changes who we are, making a long-term peace even less likely. And it's hard right now. Watching those videos last week made me angry, vengeful. And yes, poll after poll does show that many Gazans still support Hamas. Even after all that has happened, remarkably, many still do in Gaza and even more so in the West Bank. But can I still hold on to the idea that not all of them do? That some are simply caught up in the political and societal mess that a terrorist organization like Hamas has created in Gaza. Yet Israel must do all it can to find the hostages, defend its citizens, defeat Hamas. We know there's no lasting peace possible with Hamas still in charge. So here's the challenge. Can people like you and I fully support Israel's continued defensive war against a well-armed terrorist army, and at the same time, even after watching or hearing videos like I did, still see the humanity of innocence on the other side? In our Torah portion today, God parts the sea so our ancestors can escape Pharaoh and his Egyptian army. Afterwards, the waters close in on Pharaoh and his soldiers, killing them all. The people break into song as we chanted this morning, praising God for saving them and delivering them from the Egyptians. But there's one rabbinic tradition that describes the angels at the same time also wishing to break into song when they saw the Egyptian pursuers drowning. But God silences the angels, declaring, "How dare you sing for joy when my creatures are drowning?" This is the source of the custom that you know at the Passover Seder. Why do we take 10 drops of wine from our Passover Kiddush cups? Because the ancient rabbis taught our Passover cup of deliverance and rejoicing cannot be full, completely full, when we recall that innocent Egyptians had to suffer because of their rulers' evilness. This act signifies our recognition that even in the face of divine retribution that the Egyptians deserved, we Jews choose not to revel in the suffering of others. Judaism often calls out to us. Our tradition reminds us constantly, respond to our enemies with strength, with determination, with fortitude, but not with anger, not with hatred, not with calls for revenge. Our tradition says, be better than that. Don't be like your enemies. Our sages call out to us, our response to the tragedy of October 7th should not mirror the darkness of our enemies. Rather than hardening our hearts like Pharaoh does, God says to us, can we embrace the spirit of the Exodus, where love does triumph over hatred, and compassion becomes the bridge to healing? Not for Hamas, not for those who support terrorism, they must be defeated, but for truly innocent Gazans, no matter how few there may be, there are some. And there are many reasons for us and for our beloved state of Israel to continue to work to protect them. Israel is going above and beyond more than any other army, even the United States Army did, to protect those civilians. And I think we should continue to support them in that. There are operational reasons, because a moment's hesitation before pulling the trigger prevents injury to civilians. Number two, there are political reasons, because Israel needs allies like America, for whom it is important to make sure that Israel continues to be a country of high morals and values. And this morning, my message is, despite the brutality of the other side, there are still moral reasons for us, and most importantly, Israel, to do what they can to protect innocents. Because a society that loses its moral compass is a lesser one. It is not the Israel we love and support, nor is it the Judaism we value and cherish. and it's not the type of adult Jews we want our children to become. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.